Did you know that WWE created a role-playing game? It took me a long time to figure out that they did. I wish I didn't know. This is one of the worst games that I've ever come across. It is a black hole of suck. It's terrible. And it's, without any hyperbole, this game is one of the worst blends of concept and system to ever be conceived.
Life's tough
When you're in PC,
life's rough.
when you depend on me,
To give you
weapons and
insight,
armor
information for the journey, and still you
shouldn't try to hurt me.
Life's tough
When you're in PC,
life's rough.
For anyone who is a fan of pro wrestling and habitually follows Big Vinny's home of oiled beef sacks, you will definitely know that Vince McMahon has a couple of crazy get-rich-quick schemes. There was WWE New York, there was the XFL, his powerlifting company, his protein powder. The list goes on and on. On the scale of failures, this one is going to be low on the list for being inconsequential, but still a failure nonetheless. Realizing that nerds do enjoy wrestling and nerding, as you do, they attempted to capitalize this by blending these two interests by creating WWE Know Your Role role-playing game. To give context to this game came out in the mid-2000s, which was at the absolute height of the D20 open gaming license, whenever everybody was trying out the D20 license and all games sort of coalesced in a gigantic gel of mediocrity. And with that, there were, let's say, a couple of exceptions here. Some like Thieves World, which was really good, or Midnight, which was another fantastic game that actually used the system to their advantage. And then there's the games like WWE Know Your Role, which was one of the worst when it came to D20 open source gaming games. Just look at this thing. It never had a fucking chance. Never once. Look at the cover. These two sweaty men screaming on the camera. The two wrestlers in question are Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle, a true living legend, and a relatively well-known mid-carder known as Hardcore Holly. While Kurt Angle can be one of the most charismatic wrestlers of all time and is generally considered to be one of the best pro wrestlers of all time, he looks absolutely horrible here. And then we have this charismatic black hole of angry Southern Alabamian, Hardcore Holly. You could have gone with anything here. You could have done anything to actually sell this thing. You could have put Stone Cold Steve Austin, who was still a very huge name at the time, or you could have put, let's say, The Rock! Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, arguably the most charismatic and best pro wrestlers of all time. The person who created the term, know your role. He's the one who came up with it. Do you put him on the cover? I can guarantee you he could at least sell some books on charisma alone. But no, you didn't do that. Instead, you put Kurt Angle and Hardcore Ollie on the front of the cover with both people screaming like they're about to pass a kidney stone. Whoever said not to judge a book by its cover, fuck you, because I can definitely judge this one. This is just the prologue to a book that's made out of suck. If you can really even call it a book, most of it is just statting out various WWE pro wrestlers from the mid and early 2000s, and doing so poorly. What I do kind of love about this game is that it truly is a capsule to go back and experience the ruthless aggression era. The thing about pro wrestling, with WWE or any wrestling company in general, is that they're really snapshots of the culture they come from. You look into the 90s or the early 2000s and whatnot, and you always have your big household names, the people that even non-wrestling fans can name, like John Cena, Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, so on and so forth. But then you have not only just like the more popular mid-card acts, but like the lower mid-card, the kind of jobbers that make up the entire roster, that are mainly there to lose. And this is where failed projects and failed wrestlers come into play. So in this book, you get wrestlers like Charlie Haas, Kenzo Suzuki, Mordecai, Rene Dupree, these various characters that were chewed up and spit out by the WWE system, or handled poorly. So it really is that lovely little time capsule of going back to say, Oh yeah, I remember that guy. He was fucking terrible. This shit makes up most of the book. It almost comes across as a selling point for people who are going to pick this game up. Pick your favorite character and compete as them with your friends. Which, okay, I do get it. If you are a wrestling promotion, nothing like a love our characters game for people who have aged out of the concept of playing with action figure dolls. But this instantly dates this game to the point of meaninglessness. I mean, just look at this thing. People who created this had to know that this was destined for just the scrap pile of forgotten things, or things that were only relevant for that very short period of time. I mean, sure, you could probably make a profit over a year or so, but after a while this thing's just going to fade into obscurity. It reminds me a lot of whenever Rip Torn tried to create a dodgeball league after the movie Dodgeball: A True Underdog Story was such a success. And sure enough, it lasted for like one season, and then it was a colossal failure because nobody gave a shit. And then there's the system. Oh, sweet Jesus, the system. The D20 Open Gaming License. We have talked about it before, we have talked about it often. It is the driving force behind the 2000s and 2010s gaming until creativity finally took the opportunity to come back to this world. The few games that were good were those who were able to take the D20 open source elements and make it work for the setting in the game they were trying to pitch. Take Thieves World, for example. Thieves World has a vastly different magic system than D&D. It also does not include halflings, elves, dwarves, and so forth. But they make it work by melding the system and making the game work for them and using the D20 that better suits their purpose. The magic system is completely retooled for someone who wants to be a magic user. Instead of elves, dwarves, and halflings, they make races that are from the actual books, and in the game they are very unique, and they have very good bonuses and shortcomings. WWE Know Your Role? Well, they might as well have just copy and pasted the system, changed a couple of things to WWEify it, and that was about it. Skills like sleight of hand are still present, as well as intelligence and wisdom, which makes no sense why you would need those whenever the distinction is not needed for this world. Areas like sense motive and so forth, all of these are forced into a game so badly instead of building a system that works for it. Because of this, there's a distinct advantage to heel or bad guy wrestlers. With a maxed out sleight of hand check, you could easily just roll up, pull the tights, and get a quick and dirty win. And you could constantly do this. Or, for instance, with pinfalls are completely randomized, you could win on a clothesline of all things. And, you know, whenever you hit your finisher, it barely marks anything else. As far as other things are concerned, such as charisma or wisdom or anything like that, I mean, sure, you could actually build an entire program out of this and use these different stats to your advantage, but the meat and potatoes of this game is wrestling and fighting. It's a big fighting simulator with D20. So strength and dexterity are really what you need the most in any kind of character that you create. If you create a character, let's say like modern day wrestler Enzo Amore, who's more known for his charismatics than his athletics, then he's almost always going to lose. It's just a poor system that is not well balanced at all. The system just doesn't work at all with this game. It is forced in there by a group of people from WWE who obviously had no idea what a role-playing game was, nor really gave a shit on how to learn how it is played. They just slapdash copy-paste their job and called it a day. This game gets a miss. It is a terrible game in just about every conceivable way imaginable. The system is terrible. Most of the book is nothing but characters that have been statted out. It's just a very quick slapdash product created by people who wanted to make a quick buck, and you can definitely tell. Thank you so much for watching, and please like and subscribe for more.